This week, we're starting with some headlines out of the U.S. Following the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University last week, a number of workers around the country have been fired or received backlash for what is being labeled as negative comments about his death. The most recent person on that list is late-night TV host Jimmy Kimmel. Yesterday afternoon, ABC announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live would be off the air indefinitely following Kimmel's comments about Kirk's suspected shooter, Tyler Robinson. In that episode, he said in part, quote, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." Kimmel then went on to talk about how he thought President Donald Trump seemed more preoccupied with the building of the new White House ballroom than his friend's death. Kirk's death has sparked lots of conversations about the seemingly heightened rise of political violence this year. CU professor Vanessa Baird says the U.S. is no stranger to this and has a long history of struggles with political violence, including today's unrest. She says recent attacks may feel unprecedented, but history shows violence in politics has always ebbed and flowed. From the nation's founding revolution to the Civil War to racial terrorism in the South, violence has long been part of American life. She goes on to say today's rise is being driven less by political ties and more by personal pain.
It's really people's private life that they're privately suffering that predisposes them to violence, and that may make them politically angry, but it's their private suffering that causes them to search for political violence in some way.
Now, Baird says only about 1% to 2% of Americans actually support political violence, but even that small number, which amounts to more than 3 million people, can cause chaos. She warns losing faith in democracy could make it harder to hold the line against future violence.
You know, the Constitution is just written down on a piece of paper. If nobody cares about it anymore, and we don't care about free speech, and we start to whittle away at the liberty protections and rights protections and protections that we all participate in the political process, as that gets whittled away, my fear, and I really do fear this, is that that breaks down the rule of law. And as I said, people who don't believe in the rule of law are much more likely to embrace political violence. And my fear is that if we lose the rule of law, we won't get it back.
President Trump announced online that he will designate the far-left group Antifa as a, quote, major terrorist organization. The term Antifa is short for anti-fascist. In a Truth Social post today, President Trump called Antifa a, quote, sick, dangerous, radical left disaster. The White House says this designation will be one of many actions targeting what it describes as left-wing groups that fuel political violence. Some Democrats have warned the move could be used as a pretext to silence opposing viewpoints. As a domestic movement, Antifa does not have a hierarchy or defined leadership, unlike far-right groups like the Proud Boys. This means it's unclear exactly who or what President Trump would target if he moves ahead with this plan. And on Capitol Hill, former CDC Director Susan Monterez testified before senators saying she was ousted for, quote, holding the line on scientific integrity. The Trump administration abruptly fired her last month after she refused to step down, resulting in the resignation of other health officials. Monterez told senators yesterday that Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. put politics before public health and detailed clashes she had with him about vaccines.
I had suggested that I would be open to changing childhood vaccine schedules if the evidence or science were supportive. And he responded that there was no science or evidence associated with the childhood vaccine schedule. And he elaborated that CDC had never collected the science or the data to make it available related to the safety and efficacy.
To be clear, he said there was not science or data, but that you still expected you to change the schedule.
Correct.
Now, in the Middle East, Israel is moving ahead with a new ground offensive in Gaza City. Deadly strikes have also cut off communication services, making it harder for Palestinians in the area to call for help and organize evacuations. Israel issued evacuation orders ahead of the offensive, but hundreds of thousands are thought to have remained. The Israeli military said the expanded operation seeks to destroy Hamas's military infrastructure, but many worry it will lessen the chances of a ceasefire and worsen conditions conditions in famine-stricken Gaza, where the death toll has reportedly surpassed 65,000. It comes as a commission for the United Nations announced this week it found Israel had committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, adding to the list of organizations and leaders to come to this conclusion. Israel has long rejected these assertions. And a U.S. immigration judge has ordered that activist Mahmoud Khalil be deported to Algeria or Syria. ICE agents detained the former Columbia University student back in March after participating in protests against the war in Gaza. He wasn't charged with any crimes, but the green card holder ended up spending more than 100 days in ICE detention. Once released, he sued the Trump administration for $20 million in damages for his unlawful arrest. Now a judge is saying that he omitted information on his green card application and should be deported. Khalil's lawyers say they are planning to appeal. And it might be the end of an era for a popular ice cream brand. One of the founders of Ben & Jerry's, Jerry Greenfield, is resigning. Co-founder Ben Cohen shared a letter from Jerry where he claims their parent company, Unilever, is silencing the brand's activism due to, quote, fear of upsetting those in power. Now, as a brand, Ben & Jerry set itself apart from others for its long-standing outspokenness on human rights issues. Unilever reportedly promised the brand could continue doing this when it bought the brand in the year 2000, but Jerry said that independence is now gone. And something we love to do on Culture Report is shout out the people in our community who are doing the work to make it a better, brighter place, and we would love you to help us out.
I love this. So whether it's one person or a whole organization, we want to hear about the people who are making a difference in your community.
Yep, so send us a text at 303-871-1491 and tell us about the folks you think deserve a 9 shout out. And don't be surprised when we reach back out to you to ask more about your special people. And if you want to see more Culture Report content or any of our 9 News content really, you can find us on the 9 News Plus app or 9news.com. We'll be right back.